relevant, reliable, and researched. This is Experts on Call, the show focused on delivering leading-edge news and information on today's most beneficial products and services. This is Experts on Call on AM650.
And welcome back to this edition of Experts on Call. I'm Sterling Fox, joined in studio by the founder and president of FairTradeWorks. Jim Perkins is with us. Jim's company, FairTradeWorks, well, you describe yourselves as construction advocates. You say many times on the website, and we've had this conversation before, we've got your back.
Right.
What you do is offer support, and most importantly, I think, Jim, knowledge.
Right.
Because now when a person is interested enough in improving their home, whether it's a renovation or an addition, some kind of construction project, most of us don't know what the heck's going on, so we have to trust people. And we're not real good at that.
Right.
So now we need to find a company that we can trust, and so we come across this FairTradeWorks rather, and you say we are construction,
right,
and we've got your back, and all
right,
sorts of confidence-inducing things. So I'm going to put you to the test.
Okay.
I'm going to have one of your consultants come out to my house and take advantage of that complimentary consultation
right,
process. What should I have at the end of that meeting with one of your consultants?
I think the end result of the first free consultation would be just a clear picture about the vision that you have and maybe the budgets involved, if that's realistic, right? Like we'll work with you to say, I want to, the homeowner. Some homeowners we meet have a very detailed idea of what they want to do.
Yes.
Some have a sketch on a napkin, right?
Yes.
And either one is totally fine, but our first consultation, again, is just to sit down with you guys, chat, and figure out the rough idea of the scope of work. And then we'll advise at that point what needs to be done to start the process moving forward.
Okay, so if you want to do this, then it's not going to happen overnight. First
Right.
of all, we have to do it, and here are the steps
Yep.
that you have to go through in order to accomplish your goal.
Correct.
And so the next thing I'm going to want to find out, well, as I've set aside some dough here,
Yep.
have I got enough?
Right. We can give a broad statement about, realistic budgets, but until we really tie down the scope of work and figure all that out, of course we can advise, but the whole process ties down an exact dollar figure, which puts a value on your project,
Right.
which then again is transparency, and we hold to that number throughout the project through contracts, right? So, budget advising is no problem, but again, at that consultation at the beginning, we'll say this is realistic. If you'd like to move forward, we can get to work.
And one of the things now, we've already established the fact in our last segment that you are a very forward-leaning, tech-savvy company.
Right.
So how does that tech savviness apply, for example, in that initial complimentary consultation I have with one of your consultants?
Well, in the initial consultation, we always offer, we custom build some software basically, which drives our whole company. But in the initial consultation, we'll obviously showcase to our new client the software part of it, because
Okay.
that's a big part of the whole process. And that software is, once we start moving forward in the project, in the planning stage, that software, we give our homeowners a login, and they have a control panel where they can have direct messaging between themselves and their advisor that's been assigned to their project. They can upload pictures. They could be at a lighting store or Home Depot or something and see something they like.
Oh, right, okay.
And snap a picture on their
And we do that. Once we get the bug,
Of course,
we
yeah.
start, that'd look great in the new bathroom.
Yeah.
So you can take a picture of that and send it to your advisor,
Yeah.
and so that can be incorporated into the ultimate plans?
Absolutely, and it's just a holding place, I guess, because I meet hundreds of homeowners, and they'll have a few magazines and some notes over here,
Yeah.
and all these things. Our software their project gets a file, and that's a holding place for all the information that passes through that project. So the pictures, questions, timelines, all these things, and then that software is used as a communication tool at the beginning and in the planning stages, and then once we step into the actual construction, we document the timelines on their profile. when money needs to be drawn, and we do that through our escrow service, all these things, so the homeowner can basically, whether she's on a plane or sitting at the office or hanging out with their friends or lying on the beach in Mexico, they can log into their project and check out exactly what's going on at any given time. And our messaging service is instant messaging between themselves and goes directly to their advisor's phone.
Right.
It's not mobile text messaging. It's not emailing. It's just all kept within this hub, or this communication hub, which and these communication lines stay open throughout the whole process. So it's you basically have somebody to question, to talk to ask at any given time. And maybe the old way was you'd have 10 or 12 trades in your house, or a general contractor that doesn't answer his phone, or an architect that's unreachable. So this again just gives that one point of reference to have any problems, any questions, any issues. We're right there through every step of the way.
Well,
right?
it's interesting you mentioned a few professionals, sort of in the construction industry, architects and,
Right.
and others. For example, if you have a project or you're considering a project, when you sit down for this complimentary consultation with one of your consultants, Jim, is that person in a position to say, well, if you want to do this,
Yep.
you're probably going to want to talk to an architect, because an addition to the house, you should probably have that professional input. Or maybe you don't need one and you're thinking you will.
Yep.
Is all of those variables discussed?
Exactly, and that rolls in with the cost. So at that initial consultation, we can have a look at your project, and we can tell you right there and then, you're gonna need a city hall permit. You're gonna need an architect. You can maybe be able to get away with a tech and not an architect because if it's a smaller job. You need a designer. All these things. And so at that first consultation, we're very transparent. We're very clear that to get to this end product that you see, you're going to need to bring in these professionals and these contractors and trades, right?
Right, and of course, transparency is a hallmark of FairTradeWorks. It's the way you like to do business.
Right.
Keeping everything, all cards on the table,
Yep.
to use a poker metaphor.
Yeah.
And because it really, again, this demystifies
Yep.
a lot of this residential construction stuff that we are, well, to say the very least, suspicious of.
Yeah.
And generally, in some cases, with good reason.
Yeah, because I think our biggest transparency thing is through the tendering on the projects, right? So a homeowner has a large renovation, for example, and previously they might have called a contractor who'll come and give an estimate and use his pool of trades and sub-trades to put a package together to go to the homeowner,
Right.
So is that market value? Are they getting a fair deal? The homeowner doesn't know, right? We've heard, we know the stories, where a homeowner would put their project out to 2 or 3 contractors, and that's the kind of the rule. Call 3 people, get 3 quotes in. One might be 10,000, one might be 50,000, one might be 300,000, and it's just a mess left for the homeowner. They don't know what these numbers equate to. There's no transparency, and why is one 20,000, why is one 300,000, and they think because they're paying 300 they're getting better quality than 20,000. But it's, again, there's nothing's regulated. There's nothing to quantify it to. It's just a melee.
And there's sort of a weird rule of thumb. If you go for 3 bids,
Right.
you throw out the high one and the low one, and,
Yeah.
and you take the middle.
It's-
And it's a rule of thumb
Yeah.
that, well, that sort of makes sense to me. I've done that before. Well, why did you do that? I don't know. It's what everybody does. And that's about as sophisticated as that gets.
That's exactly right. And the 3 bids that you'd look at, again, one is a cat scratch on a piece of paper, one is a bunch of jargon that nobody understands, and one is a lump sum of $300,000. So you just can't compare apples to apples, and that's what we do. We break down the scope of the work at the beginning. So and once we have that scope of work package, we put it out to tender to all our approved contractors and trades, and they compete for that project.
So the client, the homeowner, knows, first of all, has a complete understanding of beginning to end of what the project is going to be.
Right.
And then, with the homeowner's endorsement, you submit this fully identified project to the trades.
Yeah.
for bids.
That's correct. We push it out again through our software, which all our approved contracts and trades have logins to, a separate login to the homeowner. So yeah, we get a project, we put out to tender, and their phones get alerted. And if they wish to tender on the project, they click a button, they download the plans, they download the scopes of work, all the documentation they need, and it's all worked out by us. So it's all in a language they completely understand.
Right.
It's not the homeowner saying, well, I want this thing over here and a wall over here and something over here.
You translate that into construction.
We translate it, which is excellent for the contracts and trades, because
Sure.
they just jump straight into it. It's a packaged up, it's tender document, which is very standard in very large projects, but not in the residential market. So And then they put their bids on it, right? And then because everybody's competing for the business, the homeowner knows that they're getting a fair market value because they're all bidding on apples to apples, and
Right.
they all submit on the same template, so it's all apples to apples again. So it's very transparent. And then and we have a huge pool of contracts and trade, so there's lots of people competing for their business. So it's not just you're cold calling somebody and getting a few quotes, and it's just nothing's quantified or relates to anything. And one of the whole ideas of this business model is to create a market value for the homeowner. So,
Right.
of course, the homeowner, if they went to the supermarket, they know a loaf of bread is a couple of dollars. You know, if they went to another supermarket and a loaf of bread was $500, they wouldn't, you know, they call the cops. You know, so what we're doing is we're creating that market value. We're creating an even playing field, and we're driving that market value. So as it evolves and the system evolves, the homeowners will know that we can guarantee them that they're getting a fair price for their project.
Let me ask you about the bidding thing, because we use the random, you've used some random numbers, so I'll pick up on your numbers.
Yeah.
You said, okay, we got 3 bids here. One's for 20 grand, one's for 300 grand, and the other one's somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
So in this case, when you have a consultant, a FairTradeWorks consultant,
Yeah.
you've gone through the process, you get exactly what needs to be done.
Yeah.
Those technical specifics are submitted to the trades,
Yeah.
and they return their bids.
Right.
So now you, the consultant, sit down with me, the homeowner, and say, here are the best competitive bids for
Right.
your project, A,
Yeah.
B, and C.
Correct.
Chances are those numbers aren't going to be as wildly extreme from one another. They're going to be pretty close, aren't they?
Absolutely not. They should be very close, and there's no reason why they should be wild, because, you know, we all work in the same marketplace again.
Right.
So we all buy from the same vendors,
Yeah.
from our materials. We all dip into the same labor pool. So why would one all our contracts and trades that are involved in our system are very heavily vetted by us. You know, we make sure that they've been in business for a certain amount of years.
Sure.
We check upon their references. We actually go look at their work. You know, we check their workforce, how long their workforce has been with them, all these things. So everybody. So again, it goes to that transparency, that fairness, where it's not everybody's competing for these projects, but they all come from the same background. So it's a collective bunch of people that all have the necessary skills and experience to compete on a project, and we're all dipping from the same materials and human resources. So what the homeowner is left with is a fair price, knowing that it's going to be.
I guess what I'm driving at, though,
Yeah.
is if those 3 competitive bids on the table in front of me are fairly close.
Right.
And I'm sitting, and now I've placed my trust in you, the advisor, my consultant. How do I choose bid A, B, or C? Would you advise me as to which of the 3 is the best suited for me, or do you leave that decision in my hands?
Oh, we can certainly advise, but the system has got us to that place of A, B, C. We know everybody's qualified. We know everybody is going to fulfill the contract.
And the dollars aren't that distinct from each
They're
other.
on that distinction with us. So it would make, if I was the homeowner, I would probably choose the lowest bid, because we know they're qualified. We know they have the scope of work. They've signed our contracts to say they're going to fulfill the scope of work for this amount of dollars. So, you know, the winning bid is ultimately going to be one of the lowest or one of the lowest 2, right?
So the old chestnut about throwing out the top one and the low one goes right out the door,
Yeah.
and the low one, in this sense, in this context,
Yep.
actually makes perfect sense.
Well, it's relevant, you know, that number quantifies to market value, to a quality contractor, and it's going to be overseen by us, and we're going to make sure that through the process that the wood that's used ties back to the scope of work. The kitchen unit ties back to the scope of work. So the homeowner can then, at that point, if she's agreeable on the price, he or her is agreeable on the price, she can move forward knowing that she can just watch a project evolve without any further questions or headaches or revisions or upcharges or hidden costs. So
Peace of mind.
it's huge.
While construction is going on your place, in your life, in real time, imagine peace of mind being part of that sentence.
Right.
We'll find out more about FairTradeWorks with its president and founder, Jim Perkins, when we continue with Experts on Call here on AM 650.
Delivering relevant and beneficial consumer information. This is Experts on Call. And there's more still ahead on AM 650.